loop over them, and at that point you see that max time slot, another server that we have. So at this point, the teams knew that there's another server. Questions so far? And that was actually a WordPress server. One of the pages had this, so we spot the difference. So this is actually another steganography challenge. When you extract the picture, you get another picture of a broken QR code. Sorry. You get a picture of a broken QR code. So when you try to scan this, if you notice, this is actually, this is missing part. And regular scanners, like on the phone, won't be able to read this. Some of them, most of them actually. So you had to pretty much fix this. Now, if you notice, this is inverted. The colors are inverted. So you had to invert the colors. So it will look like this. And also fix the upper part over here. Next. So here I tried to scan this and it didn't work. But what I did notice is that when there's a Python library for QR scanning, and if you tried the command line, it did work without even fixing the actual picture. So this is flag number 7. Next, we keep on scanning the second server, and we see that we have a link in staff again. So once you try to download that link, you would get a basic authentication window that you have to apply certain credentials. So when you source that page, you get this annoying regular expression. It's actually pretty simple. So this is what it's expecting. flag at dc416.com and the password, and that's when you get an image file. Next. The image file is our 8th flag. You see flag number 8. This is an ext3 file system that you have to mount in order to get the actual file system. And when you try to get the file, it's just encrypted, so you have to look for the private key. Browser on in the system, and you get to lost and found, and you have thousands of folders, but one of them is actually hidden, and that's leaked 1337. And this is where the this is the folder and the private key, and then you encrypt this with the private key, and you have the 8th flag. Next, we have the webmail path that the scan reveals as well, and this is actually a fuck up. I'm sorry, but in the logic in the web server, I had a problem with one of the if conditions. So when you provided an empty string, it would dump the whole database. So initially, what it was supposed to do is when you, I don't know, throw like the A character at it and press enter, you would get or not get a specific user in the WordPress. So when you type A, you get admin. If you type E, you get D, you get didn't. So initially, what you had to do is for the entire ABC, you would get didn't I something else. Each one of these is the user on the WordPress, but actually what it is eventually is flag number 9. I hope you didn't do this manually. But if you just hit enter with an empty string, then you'll get in the entire database. Next, we had a missing link. If you noticed, each challenge hints to the next one. So I forgot to put a hint to the next challenge, to the 10th. So I had to tell them the credentials to the server. So there was another user on that server called Michael. So once you, Michael Scofield, if anyone watched Prison Break, once you SSH into the server with Michael, you get this. And this is actually a sandbox that you have to escape in order to get the flag. So it's a Python script that all of the possible modules that would help you get, like, have read access are eliminated from the Python. They're like excluded. You can't do anything. Pretty much you can't do anything with it. So what you have to do is dump the use classes and all the instantiated classes, and kind of like work your way to have read access to the files. So what teams did was kind of nice. They had different approaches to this. I think Harold, where's Harold? Over there. he read the etc password file, and that was what got him to realize he has read access to the server. And the file itself was actually just flag 9 on the server. So if you read the, if you specified flag number 9, you would get the actual flag. And this is the way to do it. You declare a variable in the file class, and here is something, I hope you can see it, file type or something. Hold on. Over here, yeah. So you have to use this in order to read the flag itself. So at that point, we have the flag number 9, and you manage to escape. You get the flag. And at this point, you get the message that there is no more Jeopardy. Jeopardy is a style of the CTF, and that's when they realize that they can do anything they can to get the root access on the server. So I think nobody got to that point, right?
No, nobody got the last flag.
Okay. So one way, simple way actually, was there was a contact form on the WordPress that refers to some email.cpi, and that server is actually vulnerable to shell shock. Yeah, shell shock. So simple wget that tests this would reveal the entire etc like whatever you specify, you can just read on the server. So that would give you reverse shell. And with Python, you can just build like a simple CLI-based program that you can easily read files and execute commands on the server. Now you have a reverse shell, but you're using the Apache user at this point. Yeah, that's the reverse shell. And when you browse around on the server, you get there's a file called message on the temp folder that says we check for rootkits every 20 minutes. Don't even try. Now, essentially, that refers to check rootkit. There is a privilege escalation vulnerability with the version that the server was running. So if you put a file called update in /temp and put whatever code is inside, the root user is going to execute that. And that's how you actually get root access to the server once you're in. And there was another binary in the server with set UID on it that you had to reverse to get root. So there were actually 2 ways to get root on the server. And I think I'm running out of time, but eventually Team Canada with Zach, Anna, and Dave won that. VonHub was leading the entire time, and then the last submission of Canada was like on the buzzer, and they managed to win. So congrats, Zach. They were doing really well. And this is the scoreboard that we have. So another shout out to Zach, who programmed a scoreboard for us for the offline CTF, completely from scratch, and streamed that. So that was awesome. Thanks, Zach. And I think that's it. Any questions? Cool.
So just
Yeah. A week.
A week?
Yeah. A week. Yeah. And we were not sure exactly how it's gonna go in terms of the infrastructure, because we only had 2 servers, and 35 people scanning the servers is not something. I wasn't sure what would happen, right? So and DigitalOcean actually managed to the VPSs were really good, and that worked. So except for the screw up in the SQL and the missing hint.
quick. Make it quick. We're already running.
Okay. 5 to 10 seconds. You can't grab a beer or a pizza in 5 to 10 seconds. Don't try. Just get back to your seat.
Nick.
Okay, Cozy. If you had a seat, you should probably take it before someone else does. There's 3 spots here. 1 spot at the end. There's a bunch of beer that's taking a seat. Come make a friend. Come get cozy. Come on, guys. Come on in. Okay. So, I'm so sorry we're like disorganized right now, but we're going to be on track right now, I promise. Welcome, everybody, to DEF CON's 4th meetup. It's so great to see so many of you right here sitting in front of me. Like, I couldn't imagine that the group would grow at this size that it's at right now. We've got some amazing speakers coming up. We've got amazing sponsors like Tunnel Bear. Shout out to Tunnel Bear. I'm going to have them come up and just give us a quick little plug just in a little bit. I also want to give a great shout out to Arctic, a last-minute sponsor that actually provided you with all the beer and pizza that you guys are enjoying right now. Can I get actually Shay or Tim just on stage here with me? Shay? So Shay, tell everyone a little bit about the company. So it's a brand new company, just started in March, right?
Yeah.
They're doing some amazing stuff in the IT space, especially in DevOps, trying to make it more secure and more readily available for IT organizations.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can tell a lot more about the company than I could.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, we're about 6 months old. We're pretty new. Decided to venture off and do our own thing. We came from the infrastructure and ops sort of space. Our primary focus is on helping people develop better code and including security at the beginning of sort of the design phase and the requirements phase through the automation pipeline of code. So while security is part of what we do, it's just helping people build better code.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So we are running an event in November. If you want to come, it's all about containers, pipeline development, code security, everything sort of about protecting your sort of code quality. And
Yeah.
if you want to join, it's also beer and food at Batch.
Yeah, so that's November 17th, and where can people find out more about the information
So we're
to get there?
Arctic.ca. You can find myself or Tim. You can raise your hand. I don't think anybody else from Arctic is here unless Kyle's here, but I don't see him.
Kyle's on his way.
He's on his way. So
And you-
arctiq.ca. We have an event page. You can register and self-register for it. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shay.
thanks so much.
And Ryan, do you want to say some words about Tunnel Bear?
Sure.
Or was that Claire?
Yeah.
Ryan, let's do it. Come on.
Everybody, I'm Ryan Dochuk. I'm one of the co-founders of Tunnel Bear, also the owner of this terrible shaky projector. It doesn't normally shake. I'm not sure if it's the air conditioning or what's going on, but I apologize for that.
It's just excited.
Yeah, just so it's trembling with excitement for this presentation. I hope both of you guys are already familiar with Tunnel Bear. Really simple app, help people browse a little more privately online. Applications for PC, Mac, Android, and iOS. We have around 12 million users in 179 different countries. As you can imagine, we run into lots of unique, interesting privacy security problems. We're also building out some new apps in kind of the InfoSec space, kind of targeting, helping consumers be a little more private and secure online. So we are looking to find more people that are excited about InfoSec, excited about hacking, helping us test our products, building great products. Hiring for DevOps today, lots of interesting client apps, and lots more InfoSec roles to come. So if you're interested in the space, especially in consumers, kind of playing around with apps, if you're interested in security, privacy, occasionally censorship, come talk to me, come look at our website, check out our apps, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Before I start, I want to bring Fred, if Fred's nearby, I want to bring him on board here and talk a little bit about our upcoming proposed mentorship program here at DEF CON. Fred, it's all yours.
Thank you. Yeah. So, right. So just really quickly about me. So I'm Fred Dore. I used to work at CTF about 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking for a job. That's right. I'm just putting that out there. I used to be the virtual CISO at Pan American Games last year, and I have experience in like insurance and banking. So anyway, come talk to me about that afterwards. So why we started to talk about sort of mentorship, I know that some of you attended my science class, and I know that right near the end, James Arlen put something out there about really the importance of sharing your experiences in a mentorship altogether. And right, in talking to some of the educational facilities and institutions over the last 2 weeks since, it seems that there's a great interest around that. Right, so I'm actually meeting up with a few of the professors who are teaching those courses at George Brown as well as at York, as well as at Sheridan. So wanted to put that out there sort of today and why I think that it is very important. Having done or having been in the mentorship role for new immigrants who have I thought it was extremely rewarding to help out people and share my experiences with them and see how they could land a job here. So I think that the target audience is really two ways, right? It's more of the more senior folks who have been in the industry for a while, who I think really nothing stands in the way of them reaching out to the younger crowd or the other way around and say, hey, I could really use some help with finding a job, writing a resume, expanding my skills and whatnot, right? Through other various types of media like Slack. There's a Slack channel for DEF CON and so on as well. So, and as part of that, and I'm just going back to where I came from in the sense that having started InfoSec about 10 years ago, I surely did not have the wonderful network or have access to the wonderful network that I have right now, right? So just going back to my experience was 2 weeks ago. The next day, I had a free ticket and then for the actual sector event as a staff member. And that was literally through a bunch of the people that I know here who said, no, we'll hook you up somehow. And I think that is a wonderful thing that that is part of, you know, that community feel, right? So if we, as either as students or as new professionals and younger professionals and as older professionals can expand that network and help each other, then what better way than in the shape of a formal or informal way of mentorship. So, as I mentioned, I have reached out to the educational institutions, and I think that they would be more along the lines of wanting to see a more formal approach on, okay, we're going to hook an AppSec guy up with 5 students, right? And the AppSec guy or gal has been doing this for 5 or 10 years and has a very niche, you know, sort of an area, right, in which they specialize. But it's not just the technical skills. How hard is it for a person to have graduated from university, really knows their stuff, and performs a pen test, let's say, and is going into a meeting and goes rambling on about all these wonderful vulnerabilities that are found, and the people in the meeting go, so what? Why is this important to me? Why do I need to listen to this? Helping students like that and helping younger professionals like that to be able to translate what they've done and the work that they've done and the hard work that they've done and show why it is of value and why it is important to businesses to continue to do that kind of work. And this is just one of many examples, but I'm just putting that out there. Right? I think is extremely important, and that's not always taught in university classes, right? It's more the hands-on stuff that you're looking at. So I'm also working with IAC Squared. I don't see any people rolling their eyes yet. They are trying to get rid of the stuffy image. So they have dedicated a team that has reached out to me and has asked me to work with them to develop a membership program that they would like to be involved in very much so. They've also indicated that they would like to sponsor events like this. Whereas a few years ago, it was risque for them to even show up at Black Hat. That was already frowned upon from the corporate side. So slowly but surely, I think that we're whittling away at events like this. So this is where the real talent is, right? And the real resources who can be approached and expand the community. So I'm working with them starting in the new year on what that's going to look like. Now, in the meantime, I want to ask you guys out there from all of the different angles, right? So if you're a student, if you are a seasoned professional, if you've been doing this for a long time or a short time or whatever, that you come to me or Nick and just say, hey, here's some of my thoughts right around this. Here's what I would do or what I would like to see as a student or as a mentor or as a mentee, so that I can take that feedback and then go, let's put it together instead of me trying to invent the wheel all by myself. I have some experience and I have some feedback of my own, but I'm curious to see what everybody else has to say. Right. So with that, I'll leave that. I think if there's any questions or if people want to come talk to me after, for sure. Also, feel free to go. I don't know if everybody's on the Slack channel. I can be reached under my own name, which is Frederick or Fred, whatever. I think I'm the only Fred.
So far.
Right, and go from there. So more to come on this as we move along and as we talk to the educational education providers and to the professional, into the professional institutions around this. But we wanted to start have people starting to think about what that would look like. So I will leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you. Give it up for Fred. Is there anyone tall enough that can unplug that cable? I'm pretty sure that's the reason why it's shaking. That's the VGA cable, right, Claire? That's the HDMI? Okay, we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so before I start my talk, my very quick talk, I promise, on the latest cybersecurity news, threats, cyber attacks, and just general hacker news, I'd like to just do a quick little sort of a shout out to some core members that have really stood out in the meetup, in the community, and have really helped us grow and helped us out a lot. So I first want to recognize Harold. Put the phone down. Come over here. Harold, you're definitely recognized as a 416er, 100%.
That's awesome.
For organizing with your Vuln Hub team the next CTF challenge. I definitely wish you to be like a part of the family, and yeah, anyone who can speak on Harold's behalf will know that this guy is amazing. Great guy, super approachable, just a wealth of knowledge yet not stuck up, willing to help anyone out.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much, Harold, for all your help.
Thank you.
Next up, going on the CTF sort of track, I want to recognize Zach. Zach, come up here, man. This guy live streamed himself coding our next scoreboard. Not to say that our current scoreboard was shit, by the way, Dolev, that was really good. but
Thanks,
but
man.
Zach, really, this is yours. You're a 416er.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, man.
Also, is Andrew here? TA Grant. Not sure if he made it out.
No, I couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it? All right. He did like a little bit of some reconnaissance help for me the other day on Slack, and he definitely deserved the hat. Next up, Navleen. Navleen, come here. He's been working so hard on trying to get this live stream up and running. You're definitely a 416er. Thank you so much. And last one, which is probably our most recent one, is Fred. So he just joined. Pretty much, he's probably one of the earliest members. He's already taken an approach to helping us out with sponsorship as well as the mentorship program. So Fred, here's your hat, man. Fred, give it up for Fred.
Thanks, man.
Welcome to the team, man.
Thank you.
Okay, now that that's all out of the way, let's talk about some of the latest cyber threats, news. It's going to be super brief, super interactive, so if you guys have anything that you've heard in the news recently that you just want to shout out at me, go for it, okay? So it's going to be super interactive. We're all going to have fun. Who knows about the latest 2 vulnerabilities that came out with Joomla? Raise your hand. Who knows what Joomla is? Raise your hand. Okay, that's good. So it lives up to its name as being the second most largest CMS in the internet. Shout out at me if you know what the first one is.
WordPress.
Yes. Good job. The 2 vulnerabilities, as you can see here, one of them is an account creation vulnerability, which means that even if Joomla doesn't allow for user registration on the website, people get to register as a user on the website. That's a messed up vulnerability. The second vulnerability allows people to elevate their privileges so that they can conduct functions that are not readily available for your average user. Another big F up. Does anyone know about the exploits? I know some people were talking about it in the Slack channel, and I said that I would mention a link where you can learn some more information about this, which is right here. Slides will be posted on the website. As well, if you want to help some of your friends fix their websites, here are some 2 great tools that I've used. Wapalizer, which is a nice little Chrome extension that you can add to your browser. So when you're viewing a website, you can actually see what it's built with. And then here's a built with search engine. So you can actually put a URL and find out even what type of versions of frameworks they're using, what kind of bootstrap, et cetera, what kind of JavaScript libraries. So if you want to help some of your friends out that are running a bad version of Joomla, help them out. Flash, another 0 day, what's new, right? No, but really, if anyone wants to comment on the latest Flash vulnerability, one of the 4 guys credited with discovering Heartbleed, details haven't been completely released on it, but he also found a vulnerability in Flash. Anyone want to comment on it? Anyone read any bit more? All right, you with the hand up. Stand up and tell everyone.
Just use HTML5.
Yes. All right. Next, this one's actually really near and dear to my heart because my background's in mechanical engineering and I studied planned obsolescence. So there's a new way to hack drones now these days. So drones are now being built with 3D printers. So if I crash my $1,000 drone, I can then 3D build the propeller again and just take off and be a happy kid. But nowadays, people are actually finding these CTL files, they're the 3ds Max files, the DXFs, the DWGs, the AutoCAD files, and they're purposely corrupting them. so that after a couple of revolutions of the propeller or of a certain part, it'll actually break. So this is
hacking these things. You're actually talking about mechanical failures of them.
mechanical failures. So it's doomed to fail before it even takes off. Yeah. So when I studied mechanical engineering, drafting and design, they actually told us how to plan the obsolescence of a part in an automotive component so that right after the warranty, it's dead, it's gone. So people are now incorporating engineering components in quadcopters and in certain gliders and in drones to actually go ahead and break some of these parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you guys right here a little project that a couple of researchers have worked on called Droned. And hopefully the audio kicks in here because these guys have amazing sound. So I'm not going to show you guys the whole video, but essentially what they do is they incorporate a spear phishing campaign to get into someone's email, and all they're trying to do is gain access to their system so that they can replicate this file and then edit it using their own SolidWorks or their own Solid Edge or CAD, computer-aided design software on their end, and then re-upload that corrupted file, which is still a valid 3D CAD file, but it has a small little vulnerability in it, which is it's not a solid propeller part. It has two little tiny spokes in it. So when the 3D printer is actually printing it, those spokes are being printed, and those spokes are really flimsy. So here you can see they're doing, so using Metasploit framework here to gain access. And here you can see that they're listing all of the 3D files right now in this victim's computer. So right there, they're actually picking up the DJI propeller, really common, well-known quadcopter. So they're downloading the file right now. They're going to open it up in their own CAD software, edit the file, re-upload it, have the individual 3D print it. Enough said, right? So there you can see those two little pegs that they're actually including in the propeller. So they did a cross-section cut, and they're including these two little propellers, these two pegs. And look, they're just re-uploading this broken propeller file. How crazy is this? What?
Is this more for individuals?
No, so so with the what Stuxnet did is they ushered in this physical component to hacking. So now no longer are you now going to be able to hack someone's computer or their system, but now aerospace companies, anyone with advanced technology that utilizes 3D printing needs to now be careful of, if I'm 3D printing anything now these days, or any advanced manufacturing company could effectively just look at this thing. The propeller just like goes crazy, broken. Don't you love this audio? Enough of that. So that's what's up and on the horizon. And if anyone wants to talk to me about that, I love mechanical engineering and hacking together. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, it's the same kind of workflow used in, let's say, automation of, manufacturing in China, or full-scale manufacturing.
Yeah.
Like we can just inject it, so like the digital supply chain is manufacturing in China.
So the way that it works in China right now is you have to spend close to about $10,000 for a die, and this die will physically press whatever part you want. But you have to provide these engineering drawings to them. They'll custom make this die, but they'll kind of want some sort of capital investment because they don't want to make a die if you're not going to invest any pennies. And they'll work on fine-tuning the die. So it's really difficult to sort of hack that sort of mass-produced product, engineering product, because it's a die cast system.
What about like if it's like a CNC machine?
So CNC machines, 3D printers, the new age of manufacturing, the manufacturing on the fly, the manufacturing that we're going to do on the moon, where we're actually building what we need, that's the new age hacking that I'm talking about. So next, you guys like free coffee? So recently there was a Starbucks vulnerability known as the Starbucks black card hacking, which allowed people to buy other gift cards with gift cards and register the gift cards with fake fraudulent accounts that had birthdays on 365 days of the year, which gave you a free coffee on your birthday. Now, I don't know if I have enough time to like show this, but if you guys want to see these guys, like they made an amazing video with like quality production, and obviously like the works with like the music in the background. You gotta love when these guys actually put some effort into the music and like the quality of their hacking demos.
With this card, you get a free drink every day, forever. How does it do it? It breaks the law. It commits fraud. You never use this card. Here on our demo for this hack, we are specifically disclaiming that we are not breaking any laws or the Starbucks terms and conditions, because even though we wrote software as able to, we turn the safety on, and we're not actually committing fraud. Here is how it goes. So this is the first security vulnerability that Starbucks has that they need to fix. The first security vulnerability is you should not be able to buy gift cards with other gift cards. All of these gift cards are active. They're empty, but they're active. As in you can get free promotions and free drinks. That's not good policy. The second vulnerability is Gmail. When we go to them again and say we have john.smith@gmail.com, and we say we have john.smith.com whatever, and we keep permuting periods throughout the email address, so that we on Starbucks then think that we have a whole bunch of accounts, when in reality we only have one email account that's controlling our entire operation. How many can we make with this technique? 365 is all we need, but we can make upwards of 1 trillion email accounts with one address, just one. So one email address, 40 characters long, you can make 1 trillion addresses. So this is all automated? All automated, yes. All automated. You're going to wait a long time, but it's automated. And with a combination of only 30 gift cards are activated and 265 emails, you combine them into a system that gets you a free drink every day. And we call that the Starbucks Black Card. All right, so internet permitting, we have some scripts here, right? We've got.
So they have a few automated scripts that will modify some of the browser elements on the website, which allow them to automatically register for a new card, populate some of the form fields, and then just submit the form. So I'm not going to go in and show that if you guys want. Again, the slides are going to be on there. Next, we have IoT. Who's heard of that big old scandal that happened last Friday, that big old attack? Yeah, those Chinese cameras, those IP cameras, are just big old botnet. So nonetheless, you know, one man's shitty day, you know, working at PayPal or GitHub and being like what is happening to our servers right now is obviously going to mean another man's reward in our industry, right? Whenever someone's firewall is breached, one guy's having a good day, the other guy's having a really shit day. So obviously what I wanted to tell you guys is that in the deep web, and this is all happening just a couple of days ago, hackers have been selling these IoT device botnets for roughly, if you want 50,000 bots that are based off of like IP cameras, it's going for like $4,600. And if you want close to 100,000 bots in your attack or whatever, it's going to cost $7,500 to use these guys. This is crazy, because they said that in the latest attack, it took roughly only about 100,000 bots. Yeah. There's close to like 20 to 50 between there million IP cameras being shipped in the world at any given year, and it's just growing. The attacks are just going to get more severe and more intense. So if these companies don't start recalling their cameras and fixing some of these vulnerabilities, we're going to see more of these attacks at an even crazier severity. And that's it. That is the cyber threat news with Nick Alex. And I think next up we have Lee. Nathan? Nathan. I think you can give your own intro.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's the dirty cow.
I actually had Dirty Cow in mind to do, but I need to keep it quick. I need to just give this. This is our live feed right here. Put this in your pocket and
right on.
attach this.
All right. See, this makeshift microphone works. All right. Pretty ghetto, eh? That's great. Yeah, love it. You guys didn't have a clicker kicking around, did you, Nick? You have a clicker? No? Okay, no worries. All right. Do you have one? Yeah, if you got one, that'd be great. Hmm? I think he was getting one. Awesome. Awesome. Forward back? Awesome. All right. All right, everybody got a beer? Everybody good? Yeah? Right on. Okay, we'll keep going. We'll keep plugging through. I want to thank Nick and Dola for having us here. There's 3 of us here tonight. The other 2 are hidden in the crowd. I'll let you figure them out later. But no, there's 3 of us here. We've got Lisa Blanchet and Alpha Chan at the back, and a little bit later we'll introduce each other. Again, I'm with the Toronto Police. Yes, I am a police officer. So, remember what you're disclosing to me later, okay? But just to show of hands, so I know who's in the room. How many are pro IT or professional IT, professional pen testers, DevOps, that sort of stuff? How many do it as a hobby, just for fun? Okay. Who doesn't want to admit it? Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, I was just as depressed when Kick-Ass went down, just like the rest of you, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about who we are. This is a great opportunity for us because we wanted to introduce ourselves to you guys. This is the community that we're working in. We're dealing with a lot of these new threats that are coming up, and you guys are on the forefront of a lot of this stuff. We can do as much training as our agency will budget for us, and we'd love to do a lot of testing. Those of us in the unit, we're all nerds from way back. I remember my first intro into InfoSec and stuff like that was when my 2400 baud modem. I was running Renegade BBS out of my house. We used to format each other's hard drives. Anybody in here used to do that for fun? Yeah, that was awesome. Great times. So, a little bit about us. Again, my name's Nathan Dayler. You'll love my little fancy animations. My name's Nathan Dayler. I'm with Toronto Police. I've been with Toronto for the last 16 years. In that time, I worked in this division here. Actually, anybody live in 14 in this little division? It's changed a little bit. Yeah, great division. I used to work down here. From there, I went over to child exploitation. I spent 5 years in child exploitation doing the online undercover work, doing child prostitution, all that sort of stuff. I spent a lot of time online. That was where I learned and lived and learned to appreciate and love IRC. You guys all probably love IRC. But really starting to work in that environment, a lot of peer-to-peer stuff, and this is going back 2005, okay? So we were moving forward from there. From there, I went to our emergency management unit and really worked heavily with our social media and event management stuff, working with the service to really bolster our image online, really develop a little bit of a brand. Yes, I was on G20 and yes, all that sort of stuff. We can talk over beers later. But again, this was some of the stuff that we worked with. Now we moved about 3 years ago. Our unit came into its existence. And it was as a result of basically this mindset on the job. And anybody who works how many work with executives who really don't know their ass from a hole in the ground in relation to info security, right? Probably most of you will put your hands up, right? And not saying that was like our agency. not saying that that was our agency, but we had this old mindset that this is just a passing fad. Okay, and I mean, even Bill Gates said this. The internet is just a passing fad. So we had to really educate our command, our officers, and it's still fighting an uphill battle with some of it, but we really had to educate and get this to the forefront because there isn't many crimes that we deal with now that don't have some kind of online component. And we're going to see more and more and more of it. And I'll talk about some of the, some of the food for thought that you might be thinking about. To think about. Back in the day, this was the only good thing about internet, right? This was it. There were 2 buttons on your keyboard. One went to Napster and one went to whatever you were into, right? So this was the reality of what we were dealing with, okay? And now we look at it and we think about this type of stuff. And this is just food for thought. Now you're looking at some of the largest companies that are operating out there. You're looking at Uber, Facebook, Alibaba, Airbnb. None of them actually own any content. They just house the platform, right? So if anybody in here is like me and owns absolutely nothing, there's the chance that you will be a billionaire, okay? These guys own the world out there. You're looking at Uber. Does anybody know what the biggest thing to happen to Uber recently was? The which? Yeah, no, not sexual assaults. We're moving past that. Self-driving vehicle, right? This bad boy went 200 kilometers recently, self-driven, to deliver a container of Budweiser, okay? They wanted to put something in the back that they weren't concerned about losing. So it went 200 kilometers, no driver, okay? So now we start thinking about the future of what Uber is going to be. They're saying, when are they saying they're going to get their autonomous vehicles on the road? 2018, right? Late 2018, 2019 is when they're saying they're going to have all these cars out there. Anybody in here an Uber driver? No? Okay. Not to single you out. I was just going to say you may not be driving your car, but you'll still be making money from it. So we're starting to see the potential for all of these hacks. If we're talking about major thefts, cargo thefts, we're talking about any industry that's using autonomous vehicles, what are we looking at now? We have the potential for some serious incidents. We have potential for autonomous vehicles on the highway getting hijacked and crashed. We've all seen, everybody's watched the YouTube videos probably in the room of how easy it is to hijack a car, right? Before, a few years ago back in DEF CON, they were showing all kinds of nice little things that you had to actually go and physically put on the cars. Now that's not necessarily the case, right? We're seeing a lot of cars that are actually connected. You're buying data plans for all your new cars. You're seeing all kinds of information that can be exploited really quickly, and there's actually been tests that we've been privy to, talking to places like Symantec and things like Samsung, where ransomware is taking over your TVs and your vehicles. Okay, so this is the potential for what we're going to be dealing with in the future, right? So Internet of Things, how we got into this whole sort of stuff. We're looking at we're looking for the bad guys. Okay, the great opportunity for us here is because we're dealing with the good guys, right? You guys are hacking for good, I hope. So you're hacking for good, okay? And we're learning from everybody. This community and these communities are probably the best things going because it's where you learn, okay? Some of the people in here are extremely creative, and I'm sure, Zach, you're probably going to win the next Capture the Flag because you program the scoreboard. So as soon as the buzzer goes off, you get an automatic 60 points, right? It's in there. Yeah, so that's one of the flags that you have to find. But for the Internet of Things for us is why does this happen? Before, who were, how did bullying occur? It happened on the schoolyard. It happened on, face-to-face contact, and it was always great. And there's lots of YouTube videos out there of all these bullies getting owned, right? You make fun of a small kid, he knocks you out. Well, the reality of what the internet is for us is this is essentially it, okay? It is just going out of control because if you see something that you don't like, there is the ability to take it over and to really screw with it, right? And you're seeing a lot of script kiddies out there. This is what they're doing. Does anybody here go to U of T or did within the last year and a half? No? There was some, and if anybody in the room had anything to do with it, we can talk later. But there was some defacement stuff that happened to the U of T site, and all that they do is they're just defacing the sites over and over again and replacing them with whatever they wanted. And I know you'll be really surprised to know what they designed their mobile website with. Anybody take a guess? WordPress, right? Yeah, it's not vulnerable at all. So, you're seeing a lot of this stuff, and this is where we get involved, is when this sort of stuff happens, especially when we're dealing with companies who are targeted, companies who may be involved in something that, hacktivists don't necessarily agree with. And this is kind of where we started. So we started with a mission statement. Again, this is just our fun little mission statement for our unit. This is who we are. We're based out of our intelligence services. The reason for that is because a lot of what we do is we collect intelligence. We're not spying, we're not the CIA, we're not NSA, we're not, what is it, evil core. But we gather intelligence, and it's based on criminal predicate. When there's crimes involved, when a company goes down, when a company gets hacked, we collect a lot of that information to look forward and move. But we help everyone. We help everybody in the service. And basically, some of the things that we do, right here, we assist units with social media and open source inquiries. We do a lot of social media investigations. There is tons of it out there. Social media is popping up like crazy. How many people here work for a company that has a strong social media presence? Okay. As the IT department, do you guys have anything to do with their social media presence? No. Should you? Yeah. You definitely should. Okay. You're dealing with a lot of information. And Nick did a talk about social engineering. We'll talk briefly about social engineering and the impact that it has. But this is where a lot of information is flowing through. Where do you do a lot of recon to get information on who a potential admin is, who the potential head of IT is? Social, right? You go LinkedIn. LinkedIn, everybody lists their resumes in there. If I'm looking for a user profile and I got a list of names because I did a scan and I'm finding all kinds of user IDs and I can link a couple to LinkedIn, I know which admin I may want to go for, right? These are a lot of the different things why your IT department needs to be involved and be aware of some of this stuff. We act as an intelligence liaison in our command center. We watch a lot of this sort of stuff. Basically, we're not doing anything to spy on anybody. This is all open source information. We're just sitting and we're watching. For instance, Nuit Blanche, to make sure that everybody has a fun and safe night. Does everybody have a good time at Nuit Blanche? Anybody down there? That's a great time, right? Unfortunately, there are those negative actors that show up to cause shit at some of these events. We've had it before, and we just want to make sure that they're not there. We testify in court quite a bit on all of this sort of stuff. And this is some of the stuff that we can help quite a bit with. In relation to social media and stuff like that, we get on the stand and we talk about Facebook, talk about Twitter, talk about Instagram, talk about all that sort of fun stuff. Moving away now into that and actually moving more towards looking at logs, interpreting logs, assisting IT with getting the information from you guys. This is how your server, this is how everything was exploited, and we can put it into a context as to potentially how damaging it was. Okay? We've been going since June 2014. We've done 3,200 cases. This goes up all the time. There's 11 of us in the unit now. So dealing with 3,200 cases. Okay, it's a lot. And I'll give you a scope of some of the stuff that we're dealing with. All members provide training, internal and external. One of the things we like to pride ourselves on is actually doing a lot of this and providing training externally to bring other policing agencies up to a set standard level. You're going to be going, especially, is everybody here work in Toronto? Everybody work in Toronto? Some people don't. Okay, inside of Toronto, if you get breached and an investigation starts and we end up getting involved and working with you, there are things that you can expect. You expect we'll be there, we'll investigate, we'll work hand in hand with you, we'll go back and forth because we're getting the information from you. You go outside of the region or outside into some other areas that don't have this set up, and it's a different experience altogether. How many people, your company, the only servers you have are in Toronto? How many are on an oil tanker somewhere in the middle of Singapore, right? Yeah, some of them are all over the place. Yeah, one guy in the back, sweet. Awesome. All right, so we want to work on trying to develop this set standard and this, so that you can expect the same from whoever you're dealing with. Our most common investigations, kind of some of the stuff we deal with. Again, we deal with a lot of homicides. We're actively involved in homicides. I mean, if anybody wasn't paying attention to, a couple of weeks ago, there was a few stabbings going on. And not give any details about some of the stuff, but I mean, there is stuff going on that's actively posted to Snapchat, actively posted to Instagram. Things are on there. If we look at the Danzig barbecue a few years ago, a lot of things were pushed out through Twitter. So we're actively engaged in a lot of homicide investigations. Missing persons, we do a lot of missing persons. For some reason, people tweet out that they're running away. No, people do, we leverage a lot of the GPS information. We look for a lot of things. We try and help when we're looking for missing persons. Threat and suicides, we deal with it a lot. We get a lot of complaints coming in directly from the field in relation to people saying they're going to commit suicide online. Our involvement here is not to spy on anybody or steal your user information or anything, but it's to intervene in the attempt and try and get them some help. So we help with that quite a lot. Drugs and guns, we do a lot of that. How many people in here are surprised that bad guys actually take pictures and post a lot of information about drugs and guns online? Right? Would you be surprised to know that? No. Okay. Everybody puts it all out there. They don't think about it. Gangs, we do a lot with gangs. Criminal harassments, yeah. Robberies, thefts, cyber attacks and threats. We do quite a bit. More so now. Recently, I mean, you guys have all paid attention. You guys all follow Wired. You all follow all the different blogs. So you're seeing what's happening up here, EQAO, all that stuff that's happening. It's happening more and more and more. And why is it? Why do you think that is? Well, kids are getting better at it. Things are being more vulnerable. It's easier to get into some of these targets because they're taking new routes, right? Intelligence operations, yeah, we do a lot of that. Terrorism, counterterrorism, we deal quite a bit with that and high-risk travelers and things of that nature. Covert operations, yes, we do engage in covert operations. I'm sorry, I know that really makes some people really angry, but we do. Emergency management, again, any major incident. This is kind of a big one and close to me because I was with that unit for quite a while. But if we think back to the Ukraine hack, right, the nuclear power plant that was hacked, can you imagine if something similar to that were to happen here? Say Pickering gets hacked. Say Toronto Hydro gets hacked. Okay, and we lose power. We lose one of our critical infrastructures because of a faulty setup or some 0-day or something that was pushed out there, and our IT missed it. Okay, think of the lives that are lost. It's extremely a big piece, and this is where, as a hacking community, we can build that and identify those issues and potential and move forward to avoid something like this, right? Other areas of responsibility, we're the investigative lead on internal cyber attacks. So anybody tries to hack Toronto Police, and yes, they do it quite frequently. I don't know why. It's not like we're a target or anything. But, people do hack us, so we kind of liaise with them. Do? Ah, good one. So, training, development, and delivery in relation to online investigations. Again, we develop a lot of training to whatever level is needed. We assist with social media and cyber policy. So if you don't have a policy in place, how many people in here have policies that said they have social media? Yeah, so you've got policies in place that kind of, do you guys do BYOD? Bring your own device? Yeah, does that make your ass pucker a little bit when they walk in? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so we work with some of that policy. We had to develop our internal policy. And you think for us, we're dealing with an organization. We have roughly, correct me if I'm wrong, about 5,500 sworn officers on the road. We've got another 3,000 civilian employees. So we're dealing with, upwards of, 8,000 to 10,000 employees that all utilize devices, all access sensitive information. So our critical infrastructure is pretty important. We do a lot of presentations. We do a lot of talks. And the reason why we do a lot of talks is not because we know it all. That's not the case at all, because we don't know it all. We rely on a lot of information from people actually within the industry for this information. We do a lot of talks to try and educate companies, and as we said, a lot of the higher ups don't understand the importance of a proper info security plan. They don't understand the importance, and I've heard it before. I'll be doing a talk for some major companies, and they're like, pen testing is a waste of money. And I'm like, well, you're a fool, and I'll be talking to you later, right? Like, I mean, they don't understand the benefit of it, okay? And we'll talk about some of the things that we're seeing, and this is where then afterwards, when we get to network and talk, I want to hear some of your experiences, because that's where we develop a lot of our training stuff. Liaise with IT, yeah, we talked about that, cyber infrastructure and security. We were getting hit with quite a few DDoS attacks about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So this is where we kind of sit down and talk about how to avoid that. So this is how we operate. We work in an 8 and 6 rotation. So what that means is we have somebody on working in our office 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay, with a 4-hour on-call at the end. So essentially there is always somebody who can be gotten in touch with. Because does hacking always occur between 9 to 5? No, it's usually happening at 2 in the morning, okay? When you're at home asleep, you get the call. and that's when it happens. So we're available, and I'll explain how you can leverage some of our services. We look at the reality of this. Cyber warfare. Are we at war? Are we at war with cyber terrorists, cyber activists, hacktivism, all that sort of stuff? Absolutely we're at war. We're at constantly battle, and the group in here is fighting the good fight. And I'm drawing some wide assumptions here. I'm hoping everybody in here is fighting the good fight. If you're not, that's great. We still want to learn from you, but just teach us how to catch you. So we want to fight that good fight. We're trying to develop best policy, best practices. And some of the things that we're seeing is, again, when we look back at a high school and I look around the room, and the majority of the people in the room are relatively close in age, but who were the cool kids in school? Who were the cool kids in school? Back in... Sure, the troublemakers, the jocks, the football players, all of that sort of stuff. And that was always, who it was directed to. Who is it now? The kid who can smash the EQ test so you don't have to take it. The kid who can change your scores. The kid who can hack into and, Photoshop your teacher in inappropriate poses, right? These are the kids that are cool. And why is that? Why is that? Why do you think that's the cool thing now? Yeah. Power, right? Yeah, it's a great power. It's a great feeling. And I'll show you. I got a little picture up here later, and probably most of you in the room are like, yes, that's the one I want, right? Okay. But why is it cool? Well, mainstream media has made it cool, and that's great for those of us that love doing it, because now you're the cool kid, right? But they've made it cool. Like, how many people have seen some of these movies? How many people saw Black Hat? How many in here get to get into gunfights every day at work and run around and hack and, this guy right here, oh yeah, oh, you got NSA written all over you. Yeah, that's the new NSA haircut. It's great. Yeah. So we see a lot of that. We see a lot of this sort of stuff getting really, really popular and out there. I mean, you even look at Die Hard. Die Hard did a whole movie on fire sale, right? How far out of reality is that? It's not too far out of reality, right? All that they were talking about was smashing critical infrastructure, crashing, making people panic, causing widespread panic. We've seen it. It's already occurred. Okay, so this isn't, these aren't fictitious movies. Some of this stuff is actually happening. How many here watch Mr. Robot? Yeah, probably. Yeah, amazing movie, right? Yeah, amazing movie. Everybody in here, you've all got mental disorders and all that sort of stuff. You're seeing things. It's all great, right? But no, Mr. Robot's excellent because of a lot of the stuff that they talk about and they show the general population. And what was one of the biggest ones? It was in last season, or end of season 1. What did they do in the parking lot of the corrections? Drop the thumb drives, right? Drop the thumb drives all around, and you guarantee somebody. These tests are happening. A few friends of mine down in the States run an info security company, and they do that test regularly. And they do it all the time, and people know that they do it, and yet they still get an 80% plug-in rate. Okay? Like, these are some of the stupidest things, but the general population doesn't understand it. They don't see it. We look at, some of the percentages, and I mean, these are, you can see these change depending on what you're doing, but you're seeing a huge trend in this, in social engineering. We'll talk about why that is. Okay? We'll talk about why it's gone up so high. 40% insider threats. Why do you think that is? Because companies treat you like shit, right? No, because you're inside, you've got that may be the truth. People are nodding their heads. The insider threat thing. You've already got access. You've already got access. You, as the IT person, you've got access to some of the most critical information in there. Even though they don't think you actually have access to the documents, you've got access to the servers that house the documents, right? You've got access to everything. 39% advanced persistent threats. That's gone down. That used to be a huge one, right? That used to be a massive one, but it's gone down. And why has that one gone down and social engineering taken over?
Because people are stupid.
It's easier. People are stupid. Exactly. People are stupid. Yeah.
It's also nations that don't have their capacity, so they're not going to throw.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
These are not mutually exclusive threats. One doesn't go down at the expense of one doesn't go at the expense of the other.
Right.
Maybe insiders, social engineering.
Oh, absolutely. All three of these could go. Yeah.
Social engineering is not including your phishing attacks.
Yeah. Oh, that's gone up huge. And why? Because, again, people are stupid. People do silly things. They don't necessarily know what's going on. But the APTs,
I don't like people are stupid narrative. I mean,
okay.
I like to think that people, because of social norms.
Sure. Or we're preying on human vulnerabilities, is what it is. The vulnerability to trust. Okay. We tend to trust people. Because as an IT guy, how many people can you walk up to and go, something's wrong, your computer's going really slow, go grab a coffee, I'm going to sit down and fix this for you. How many people will go, yep, I'm going for a coffee, right, and walk away? And it's not because they're being stupid, it's because they're trusting you. There's that vulnerability that we're preying on, and it's psychological vulnerability. So the advanced persistent threat, yeah, all of these can be used together, but this guy here is one of the biggest ones. And the other reason why this is one of the, and it's not necessarily the only factor, but it's a way in for people, is what are some of the other reasons? Because our IT is getting so much better. Okay, our IT is getting better. We're not relying on one thing. Okay, IT is actually getting better, and that's to your credit. This was a good book, but this was the big thing. And one of the reasons that we talk about social engineering is okay, again, sorry for the stupidity word, but there is no patch for it. Okay, there's no real way to fix this, okay, other than through education and proper education. And that falls back to IT. It comes back to an awareness campaign in your companies. It comes back to teaching people, don't plug USBs that you just picked up underneath your tire into your computer and work, okay? Don't, you know, hand over your password when somebody calls and said your Windows machine is running really slow, I think we should fix it, and you're using a Mac, right? So, you know, these are some of the things that are happening. This was a huge one. Right? Okay? And this was a huge one. And the fun thing with this is, what demographic do you think this hits the most? Parents. Okay, seniors. Seniors, yeah. Seniors population. Because why? Because, again, they have that vulnerability. They want to trust. They want to trust. So they click on it. They go through it. Not to, and I won't name any company, but I was working with, on the side, a multi-million-dollar company. They build a lot of condos in this city, and their main guy was giving millions and millions of dollars trying to stimulate Nigerian currency. Yeah, we laugh, right? We laugh because we understand. We understand it. But he's giving millions and millions of dollars because he thinks he's doing a good thing. And how many scams like this are going through? What was one of the other big scams? Anybody pay attention to, you know, local topics? What were people being told to do with iTunes gift cards? Yeah, Canada Revenue Agency, right? People were getting called and emailed saying, you owe $346, meet us at the Esso down the street and give us the gift cards. You'd be surprised how many people were going, buying gift cards and going, I'm paying off my taxes, right? Hand off the gift cards to some car in the middle of the parking lot, because that's what the CRA does, right? You know, so you're seeing a lot of this, and it's only increasing, and it's only getting more and more elaborate. Okay, we're seeing a lot. How easy is it to spoof a website? How easy is it to spoof a website and install a beef hook into it? Next thing you know, you got control of somebody's browser. It's a piece of cake. It takes you like 5 minutes if you know what you're doing, right? So doing this sort of stuff and then directing somebody, because does everybody know to hover over the hyperlink to know what URL they're going to? No, they don't. They just say, oh, click here. I got to go here. Oh, it looks real, right? Oh, my flash is out of date. Update, right? You know, these are all the things that are making it easier and easier for people. So how do we do that? Well, one of the things we really preach and we really push is training and testing your security. Okay, the number of times we sit down with IT people, and it's actually pretty funny because I'll sit down with our IT people, and they'll be like, we had a breach, we had an attack. It's like, okay, cool. What steps did you guys put in place? And then they look at their managers and go, none. Right? And it's like, oh, okay, great. So you're offering suggestions, but is your management on board with it? And the reason why they may not be on board with it is just simply they just don't understand it. Okay, because a lot of places that they're hearing is they're hearing the sales pitch. They're hearing the sales pitch from the companies, so they're under the assumption that antivirus and threat intelligence feeds, that's all I need. Right? I'm not knocking either of them. I'm not knocking either of them. But antivirus, how easy is it to bypass antivirus? Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? I don't think there's an antivirus program out there that can't be bypassed. So antivirus is essentially simple to bypass. Does anybody's company in here solely rely on antivirus to protect their infrastructure? I hope not. Okay, threat intelligence feeds. What are threat intelligence feeds good for? Threat intelligence feeds are great for telling us, you know, what vulnerabilities are out there. Okay, it's great. We can look at all the different patches. We can see everything that's coming out. Threat intelligence feeds are an amazing piece of intelligence for us. But who also has access to threat intelligence feeds? The bad guys, right? It's all open source. You can go to exploits.db. You can go all over the place. You can find out what exploits are out there. And then what do? You tweak your attack and you get creative. Okay, it's the same way as bypassing AV. They just get creative. They find ways around. Are you a place that does whitelisting? Are you a place that does blacklisting? Right? There's a ways around all of that sort of stuff. So it's the big education piece. How many companies in here actively support penetration testing at least a couple times a year? Awesome. Awesome. How hard did you have to work at that, or were you hired as pen testers? Did you have to work at it to try and convince your company that it was worthwhile? No?
PCI.
Which?
We're doing PCI, so it's required.
Okay, so it's required. Yeah, so pen testing is amazing. Okay, pen testing is huge. And why is pen testing so amazing? Because it takes this community here who loves to hack and who loves to get into places and find out the information, and we want to show you your vulnerabilities. We're not trying to make the company look silly and say your security practices are stupid. What you're saying is you've got holes here, 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 and here, and these are the areas that we need to patch, or these are the areas that we need to at least be cognizant of. You have an open port flying around that all you're doing is dumping information back and forth, okay? But we all know from looking at hacks like the Home Depot, right? What happened to Home Depot? They got hacked through their air conditioning, okay? So these are all different areas that we have to be aware of in order to get there. How did, speaking of, you know, using social engineering to obtain things, does anybody remember how the Ukraine, the nuclear power plant, was hacked? No? In a macro in a Word document that was sent. Phishing scam, right? Enabling macros. Guy clicks it, boom, goes in, escalates privileges, shuts the whole thing down. Okay? Not too difficult. All he was preying on vulnerability of a senior exec with admin privilege. Okay? So these are the types of things that we really need to train and really need to work towards. So how do you leverage us? If something like this does happen to you, or if you just want to talk and kind of bounce ideas off, I'll give you our contact information. But if you have an investigation for us, you contact our communications through 2222. If it's emergency, you know, loss of life, all that sort of stuff, call 911, and they'll link up and get in touch with us, and we can work that way. The other way is to speak with your local division. Okay, go to the local division. If you explain to them, and one of the education things that we're trying to get out to folks, especially working with your companies, is tell them, I understand that you guys have a cybercrime unit. This is cybercrime related. Is this something that potentially they could assist with or work with? Okay, and we can get involved that way. Provide a report or statement. Yeah, if we are going to get involved in an investigation, you are going to have to provide a report. Sometimes your companies may not like this, and the reason for that is they don't want to bring to light that they've been attacked. Okay, that they've been vulnerable. Nobody wants to be the person who's standing up and goes, yes, they were attacked and all of our private data was taken and stolen, and you know, people are upset and they can no longer date outside of marriage, right? So some of those hacks that have occurred. But nobody likes that. So what we want to do is just make an understanding that yes, we will assist, we will help you with your investigation, and we're not in it for the glory. We're in it to try and catch the bad guys and mitigate this from happening again. Okay? Investigators will contact and they'll get in touch with us and we move forward. So at the end of the day, this room, right? Got these nice, pretty colors and everything is great. But at the end of the day, we all want to get to this point, right? This is what we want to get, right? Does this make everybody happy and excited when you see this? Yeah, everybody's like, see, I love the nerds in the room. Like, ah, yeah, session 1, bitches, right? Like, this makes everybody happy, but this is what we want to get to. We want to train to test your systems, to put your systems to the test, so that we can then share that information amongst this community so that we can then make IT better. Okay, is anybody not of that mindset? That this is a great networking opportunity? Yeah, so I mean, in closing, all we do is I like to throw up a couple of those little keep calm things, but the big thing with us is keep calm and train hard. Training is huge, and that mentorship program you're talking about is an amazing idea because everybody in here, there isn't one person in this room who knows everything. There are people in this room who think they know everything, but there isn't people in this room who absolutely know everything. And you can always learn and develop, and as soon as we get that, then you're going to just develop and get better. And training is huge. There's amazing courses. If your company has a training budget, there are some that cost quite a bit of money, but they are excellent courses. And I'm always open to listen to what some of the courses are that you guys have taken or actively take, because we'd like to take them too. Keep calm and hack. Keep hacking. Hack away. How many in here thought that the police officer would come up here and say, hack the shit out of everything, right? No, yeah, we are saying hack it. Hack it, because that's the way that we learn how to prevent it from it being a bad thing, right? Hack the good. And the big thing, socialize. This is a huge thing for it, for networking. When we got in touch with Nick and Dolev there, and we got asked to come and introduce ourselves to you guys, that was a huge opportunity for us. Because now we can come to you guys, we can be in the groups, not spying on the groups, but we're participating in the groups, learning and developing better practices. Because when we go into an investigation, if we don't know what we're looking for, maybe I can say, oh, I was at a capture a flag event, and this really creative kid was doing this cool little thing. This might be a way that they got into your system, right? This is what we're learning. So socialize, network, get involved with your DEF CON. And yeah, any questions? Any questions for me about this? No? Again, Alpha Chan and Lisa Blanchet are at the back, as well as myself. We've got cards. I'm going to hang around for a little bit because, hey, free beer and pizza. I'm all over it. So I'll hang around for a little while. And yeah, again, always feel free to contact, get in touch with us. I'm part of the Facebook group, so you can reach out to me that way. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Yeah, question in the back there? Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, okay. I can't see. There's a light. There you are. Yeah.
Are there like certain criteria that you would give to someone to contact law enforcement as opposed to like a private industry entity that would do the same type of investigation? Just wondering, like,
yeah.
Between the two, because I know getting law enforcement for a lot of companies is kind of that extra step that once they start an investigation, they get to that point.
Yeah, a lot of companies are hiring a lot of private firms to do their investigative analysis after the fact, and that's all well and good, and that's great. Where we like to get involved is if it's something that's potentially going to be ongoing. If it's something that we'll get involved. Even a DDoS attack. Okay, there's no real damage to infrastructure. There's no real loss of data. Yet it is a mischief. Because there are a lot of new laws coming out and being really pushed. One's, well, it's not new, but the mischief interfere with data. So anybody who interferes with your data and stuff like that, it's a criminal offense. And if we can find them, we can charge them, and then you can hold them liable for any damages and all of that sort of stuff. There's other new ones out there right now, especially if you're dealing with any kind of breach of private data, and that's the sharing of sensitive images and sensitive videos. So any of those X's or anybody hacks into somebody's Snapchat account and steals all their images and blasts them out, okay, even if they were taken consensually, there's a charge now for that. Okay, and that's pushed really hard. So if there's any kind of criminal damage, if there's anything that needs, because what that third-party company is going to do is give you a great little forensic report, and then it's on you to fix it. But if you're looking for any kind of criminal proceeding or going after somebody for any kind of damages, then that's the type of stuff that we can get involved in.
More asking for my side, like if I get DDoS, what's making me call the police as opposed to like someone in the private sector? Wondering if there's like a set criteria, like what
nope.
I mean, from your end, you're saying everything's criminally probably prosecuted.
Yeah. I mean, from your end, in relation to that, is do you feel like you're a victim? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, or Lisa, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Let's say something where you can decide, right? And your idea of how you can talk to somebody is a lot different than what would be acceptable in a courtroom. So that's, I would prefer hearing about it at that stage. Like we've had them where they come to us and they've already debriefed the entire office. And now we have to go and debrief this office, right? So what, I think that's the only thing is what we can tell you is what would be good in court. What we need to prove this case. What we need, you guys have all this crazy amount of knowledge that I don't have, but I know I've run a lot of cases in court, and I know what I need for a judge to say you're guilty, right? So those are two different things.
Yeah.
So I would say if you think it's going that way, like you know it's somebody that just was fired or somebody in the company or something like that, the sooner the better, so we can structure your internal investigation in our. But once we are involved though, then right supply and all that. So that is that's your judge. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you think, no, I'm gonna find out more without getting involved, don't do it. But as soon as we know, then yeah. Everyone's watching everyone.
Just like my follow-up to that was I'm just wondering if you guys go obviously won't be tested with very minor infractions all the way.
Pester away. We don't find it minor. No, we'll do it all.
If we document things, one day somebody will be caught for that. And whatever virus it is, whatever crazy thing you guys investigate, at the end of the day, someone may be caught for that. And if you tell the judge, we have this many people and this much money, this much
Yeah.
That's, like a judge will look at, oh, usage data, like community service. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to humanize the attack. Yeah.
All these unsolvable situations, right? All these unsolvable cases. At the end of the day, when somebody does get caught in somewhere, an individual person, how can we explain to the judge this huge amount of damage that this person did do?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just to tag on, what's the efficacy that the Crown has had in prosecuting cases like this?
Actually, we just started out, and it was based on what we had with child exploitation model moving forward. Is there's a new group of Crown attorneys down on Bay Street. It's called the Circuit Team, and their sole function is to investigate and prosecute cybercrimes. So we have 12 Crowns that are now getting trained and getting developed to be the cybercrime experts in court, because there's just so much of it flooding the court system now. And we're just trying to move forward and build best case law. So, yeah.
Got a follow-up question. So,
Sure. Yeah.
does the Crown have any, usually you have a financial judge that knows finance, if I throw around terms.
Yep.
Do you have any judges that have been around for 30 years in the cyber? So basically,
Judges?
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's where we come in a lot of the time, is we'll get on the stand, and one of the things that we do as part of our testimony is we get on the stand because we do have a lot of those learned judges, but they don't understand a lot of the terms. They don't understand PON. They don't understand necessarily what a microblog is. They don't understand, a lot of this. So we'll get up and explain those terms to them in layman's terms so that they'll understand and try and put it in perspective. We spend so much time explaining to a judge what an IP address is and the difference between internal and external, but by the end of it, they actually understand the differences and all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So jurisdiction, a lot of these attacks I'm imagining are multinational.
Yeah.
Are you guys able to escalate to like Interpol involved?
Yeah, absolutely. We have contacts all over the place. If it's something that initiates here, but then we find out it's a nation state, well, we're not going to be able to do much with a nation state. But if we find out that it's down in the U.S., we've got connections with the FBI, Homeland Security, all that sort of stuff. So we can actually leverage if it's a multi-jurisdictional investigation. Yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering if you get any information related to private investigation.
From PIs?
No,
Yeah,
not
or
PIs, I mean,
yeah.
from a third party that's investigating a breach.
Yeah.
If this information and intelligence is getting back to you, and you follow
it is if it goes by way of.
To follow the actors.
Yeah, to follow the act, we get intelligence information and we build it, but in order for us to actually action it, we need a complainant. We need the complainant to come forward. We can get the intelligence, get the information, and look at it to have it, but unless we have the actual affected party, then there's not a whole lot.
We're going to take one more question.
Yeah, one more question, sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I had a quick question. We actually got our email, like maybe this isn't a consulting anything, but people might be familiar with there's an Armada Collective who did the DDoS attack. So this is something that we were contacted with last year, threatened as our company. We have a lot of DDoS mitigation things in place, but this is something we felt could still threaten Toronto's infrastructure.
Yeah.
We actually contacted our CMP, and I'm not joking, when I was on the phone for like 2 hours getting 4 different people, and the end result, basically the recommendation was make sure I don't open any attachments in my email. And at that point, my heart dropped out, and I was like, wow, like the internet is still Wild West, and we are like completely on our own.
Yeah.
So like, what do you say when like, what would you guys do if I could have contacted you versus our CMP? Because my feedback with working with them was like, I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up that this infrastructure is like vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I felt like they had no resources to deal with that whatsoever.
Yeah, go for it.
Basically, I work with a whole bunch of like RCMP, or the whole GTA network. We have a network with this basically nationwide. Are we the only one in Toronto? I want to argue yes, we're ahead. If I get called today, I'm meeting tomorrow with the RCMP to discuss how to release it. I'm like blown away on you. Serious. So yeah, network, and we try to like reach out. We really want to reach out because a strong. The whole thing is about networking. It's a stronger network with stronger data, right? So if you give us a call, if you give us a answer your phone agency, we'll find out. We'll reach out. So yeah, and that's I guess it's a cranky call for me. It was like I tried to reach
Just give you guys a quick just overview. I run a cybersecurity recruitment agency. Didn't see anyone. Tons of hiring for people on contract basis and full-time roles, primarily in basically 4 different areas: exploit development. We're doing lots of work for pen testers, IR work. So just in terms of for anything from like 10-day contracts to long-term roles. So right now I'm hiring a couple of practice leaders for different organizations as well, and really are innovative professionals that can bring new life to some of these IT departments and cybersecurity groups. So message me at any point. I also teach at Seneca College as well, primarily in the financial crime analysis school, but we're building a cybersecurity school there as well. So if anyone just teaching or something, contact us along.
What we're gonna do now is we're gonna turn on the lights, ready for the next presentation. We're gonna take 15 minutes for everyone to just chat, talk about some of the presentations, talk about some of the talks, latest security news, go, drink, be merry. Awesome. Thank you. So we're gonna get started on our next talk. If everyone can be quiet and respect the next speaker, that'd be great. Thank you. Everyone, I give you lead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Cool. It's not on here at all. Is anyone getting a seizure yet from this? When they start having to point a code, that's going to be fun. If you said notice the method here. But no, thanks again, everybody. Thank you very much, Nick and Zola, for having me. Thank you everyone for speaking. Nick, thank you very much. It's a Tool Agnostics, leveraging those ecosystems. I'm kind of used to roaming a lot, so I don't know myself that too much. Just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. What is this exactly? It's really more of a methodology, a concept, a philosophy you can apply to your red practices. You can also apply this to blue practices as well. The benefits from adopting this kind of thinking with your pen testing skill set, as well as my objective as to why it's something I want to spend time with specifically over the last few years. And then just some, no real order of importance, just some basic kind of challenges. If you're on the red side, if you're on the blue side, you may be facing or might face down your career path where this might become something you can get a jump start on. That can really help you a lot. Then we'll take a look at a toolkit really that I leverage on and a demo, and I don't trust things from the demo gods. It's more important for me to later. So thankfully I got the video of it all, and I'll show you that, and we can all have a big seizure together. So just quick, who am I? My name is Lee Kagan. That's me on Twitter, Invoke Threat Guy. Co-founder of Red Black Security, which is my part of the venue. Somewhere in the back there, a couple of our teammates roaming around. We're a Toronto-based, intelligence-driven threat emulation service. So it's mainly do penetration testing with the intention of replicating threat capability and adversaries, specific threat actors. Our team that does that's called the Road Team. Pen tester, hacker, offensive guy, security researcher, whatever you want to call it. And what I really like to focus on is Microsoft stuff. I love Active Directory, I love PowerShell, I love WMI, I love all those kind of things. And that's what we're going to be checking out. So what are Tool Agnostics? Anyone here, I must feel a little old in a second, remembers MacGyver? Yes! I need an orange and a blowtorch and a and I got to circumstances I'm facing. This is a post from a gentleman named Raphael Mudge, who's a huge inspiration to myself and everyone at Red Black. On his blog, he wrote this quick, an exceptionally nerdy little post referencing Battlestar Galactica, and it has a video follow-up. But the main point I kind of want to draw your attention to, and here comes the seizures, are these last 2 points right here. And so it goes with hacking. You don't always get to choose your tools. In mature environments, the combination of defenses and analysts you're working against will dictate what tools you get to use in terms of what's allowed in scope, but also what even works. Because if they're mature enough, they will catch those static things in the most. So when you're operating, how do you conduct action on objectives? How do you get to that place so that you can get to the goal, get the treasure, and meet the criteria? On the flip side of that, is anyone a Derby comic? I know, yeah. At least just us three. All right. At that talk, a gentleman named Matt Graber and Jerry Atkinson from Varus ATV, the Adaptive Threat Division, they gave their sort of second version on living off command. This is on the defense side, how to use those pre-existing tools, how to leverage WMI PowerShell to catch your adversary, or to make their job a lot harder. So this isn't really a new concept. It's just something I think we're, it's like anything in life. We just want to go for the quick buy. We want to get the blinky box that does it for us. We want to get someone else to do it. We just want to have a tool where I just plug in an IP and get the phone and it's done. But that's not always going to be the case. Same thing goes for the blue side. So to sort of cap what is this mentality and this philosophy I'm talking about, it's not relying on a tool. I'm not asking anybody here to throw away Metasploit. Clearly I love it. But don't rely. Reliance is a crutch, I think, in life in any capacity. If you must rely on this and then it's not there, what do you do? How do you proceed? Integrating and mixing tools, that's another way to treat agnostics, right? So basically, who here uses Metasploit Framework? Who here uses PowerShell Empire? Who here uses Cobalt Strike? And how many people are looking at those tools? Sorry, spitting on you guys. How many using one or the other and not all three together? Oh, that's fair enough. Honestly, so the point I'm trying to make there is I can use all three. So it's not a matter of I just have to do this one and if it doesn't work, oh well. It's how to start mixing and adapting your toolkit. And as we start moving down this chain, it gives you that option to replicate capabilities. In your standard issue pen tests, you don't really get asked to do that a lot. But if whether this is something you might want to get into in your own time, or you start threat capability emulation, adversary simulation, the idea is we and we've dealt with them in some way. No, they did this, so I have to do that. I have to make the traffic look the same. I have to make the payloads the same. What you're trying these kinds of tests. Super fun. The real main point behind this, and the kind of pen testing we like to do, and this is pretty much what I'm talking about, is being intelligence driven. A lot of pen testers, I think, forget how important that is. Pen testers. In the military, red teams actually have intelligence analysts that are telling them and guiding them how to an exercise where you're fighting Russian fighter pilots. You're not going to do that in an F-16. You're going to get a Russian warplane. You're going to get an intel analyst who studied their tactics and their motives and their behavior, and they're going to guide you how to operate that. And that's really what we're talking about with this point here. So I'm going to let that sink in. I reflect the slide, I just love it. I Googled funny Microsoft, I'm like, I have to. That's a real thing. The benefits, so what can this do for you in your existing space? It allows for custom tooling. So for example, let's a specific module in Metasploit or in Empire or whatever it is, and you don't actually you don't need a framework, you just want to use that module. Look at how it's been built, look at what the code is. You know, if it's Empire, chances are it's just going to be some PowerShell and WMI stuff. Take that out of the tool. Because a lot of the time on the blue side, they're looking for those static values in the window dressing of a capability. But what you want to focus on is how do I just take the capability out and lose the window dressing? So now it becomes my own. And that, if you're letting interpreter and Windows event simply field that you can pivot on this blue and alert yourself. So if you can change to a different agent that you want to run on your target, it's giving you flexibility. It allows you to adapt to the environment. Maybe the interpreter is working only for a few seconds. And that's an interactive shell. It's not asynchronous like Empire or Cobalt Strike, which just beacons out once in a while. Automation starts allowing you to have this, I notice I'm doing the same 3 or 4 moves constantly. Every time I get on this Windows box, it's always, am I a local admin? If so, bypass UAC, and then from there inject into LSAS, and LSAS system, cat dump price. And the biggest benefit of it all is if it's a new space for you. If you find in pen testing it's getting a little mundane, it's getting a little too, watered down for you, this is something that I just started doing on my own. And then as calls for adversary simulations came in more and more, it actually became practice, right? So you get to learn, and you get to expand the things that you know. And education is great across the board. So my actual objectives that I wanted to accomplish for my own self even if you've removed them. Unmanaged PowerShell from Tiffin and Christensen. Reflective pivot, and all those different ways that we can drop it back into your system, even if you're trying to pivot on just that binary. Creating a wasteland is really going to be the challenge for Blue with some of the techniques I'm going to show you guys. And what I mean by that is if I said, okay, I use PowerShell, C#, .NET, WMI, CIM, I'm going to use COM objects, squiggly doos, which I'll show you later. Things, and I say, now take those out of your environment, you're going to look at me fucking nuts, right? You need some of these things for production, for compatibility issues, for administration. A lot of these offensive PowerShell and that's going to drive you to look at the kind of ability it does, not the delivery system, not the tool and the languages. It's what's being done after the fact, right? So if my tool does so-and-so with WMI, don't look for tool, look for the WMI that I'm using and the kind of event logs it creates. Much easier said. And to sort of express my point, I really like this statement from, I think we all know the gentleman at the top. Alex Stamos said, PowerShell is great for AD exchange of mins, but basically I've never seen a real valid use for it. There's some truth to that. Many modern attackers, we're going to live off what you have already introduced into your ecosystem. So give me a barren waste. Make it hard for me to use these. And just to show that this isn't all smoke and mirrors, I do get asked this a lot. What a squiggly do was seen that used in the wild. Fair enough. A lot of it is. You have VBA and VBS in your macros. It's been around forever, and it's got such an awesome comeback again lately. I love it. .NET malware, very prevalent. Not always the prettiest, but it's there. Attacks using WMI. So this is happening in the wild, right? I think in terms of an offensive tool, right? It's been enough time has passed. I'm not trying to throw that exploit away, throw that empire away, throw a silent throw that. I'm talking about adding more to your tools. A lot of people don't know that the staging process, the actual mechanism that happens when you use Metasploit to that's the same for PowerShell Empire. What that means, payload section system, and Empire will join. Stage people treat to use one or the other. You can leverage all three. You need an exploit from it. So you're going to use Empire to get an agent C2, and then what you're going to do is leverage an exploit get system or whatever it is. And we'll actually see this in the to me talk bastards. So in this toolkit, this one might seem a bit strange. The very first one is intelligence. Reading threat reports. Awesome. I don't have a $1 million a year fee to some private threat source. I go out there, I read the reports, I pull out the technical indicators. We actually did a little fun, just in-house resimulation of energetic air, which again was Ukraine and some stuff that they had done out there. So we just went through some reports and just started pulling out indicators. In Cobalt Strike, and I'm more partial to that as my management tool than Empire and Metasploit, it has a feature called Malleable, and this is where stuff gets really, really cool. Malleable C2 allows you to write this little profile script, and this is from the developer Raphael Munch on his GitHub page. He's listing the sources where he made this profile, open source threat reports. And then in here, he's stuck in indicators in this profile. When you start a team server in Cobalt Strike, so all your attackers can connect and launch their attacks from there, in the beacon traffic, in the IOCs you would see from your NSM, it's going so they're not going to see beacon between my little machine and your target. They're going to see actual IOCs WordPress out of your eyes. We don't have any of this. We're using it. It's injected. For me, these three are just some of the greatest things ever given to the community. Sadly, I know Cobalt Strike is a little pricey, but if you can sway your powers. But anywhere without these. So again, I'm not preaching this throw them out the door and everything's got to be the first time anyone's ever seen a 0-day crop. Give a man a 0 day, he feeds for a day. Teach a man to fish, he's got shells for life. Right? So we don't need to go that approach. Now on the other side, on the endpoint side, really I'm talking about post-exploitation. We got a lot of options in Windows environments. We got direct access to Win32API through pretty much most of those. We can do remoting, local remoting through PowerShell, through WMI, and some other stuff. Uploading and downloading, COM objects. Right? We can interact directly with different parts of COM, especially when it comes to making, it's COM objects for Office. If you want to start affecting macros. We can interact with the network. If anyone's used things like Inve or Responding, you're interacting with the network on a native level, even with Python. We got lions and tigers and bears. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. So in the toolkit that I try to preach people get familiar with a little bit, WMI and CIM is a little bit less known. .NET and C# go hand in hand, obviously. VBA and VBScript, a little bit bigger benefit with VBA, especially when you can get to API. WScript, go to the MSD script. They have this table. Is anyone familiar with WScript and C script? So basically, WScript host, and basically what it does is allow you to pass these scripts to it and execute them. And on the MSDN, is epically large. And I'm going to use that scribbly-do a little bit later on, which is this weird little attack. We got JavaScript, but really it's JScript. Yes?
Sorry, I haven't used Windows in a while. What's WMI and CIM?
Okay, so WMI and CM, admins tend to leverage this a lot more for interacting with deep sort of data. It just tends to get used that way a little bit more. But with the Windows management instrumentation, it's, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this offensively. It allows for very deep object pivoting, because in PowerShell as well, everything that gets returned to you is treated as an object. With WMI, data about hard drive. It's a little slow, but it gives very low level, so you can do this cool thing with WMI against every machine on the network. So it's really interesting. We'll see a few examples that will make more sense. JScript and HTML applications, still very handy, and it's amazing how many people fall for HTML. But what I'm saying is they're providing for you. It's there. Most of this stuff, if not all of this stuff, is existed in most corporate Active Directory domains, and most of it is not monitored. You want to get to the really heavy logging and auditing of these kinds of attacks, you need to be up pretty much like PowerShell 5. Windows Server 2012 and up, Windows 8 and up. If you're below that, you're missing most of the stuff that we're passing as arguments. In fact, memory. So there's a lot of leverages. All right, final concept. Oh, let's get the hell out of this thing. So it's going to go a little quick, so I'm just going to kind of keep pausing it and explaining what's going on here. So what I'm going to do first is show you two ways of using this agnostic mentality of combining two from a offense, Cobalt Strike over Metasploit and Empire is I can have, and I can have all my teammates connect to that. And we can all see the exact same in real time. It's not like, pass it over here. So at the top, we have a Metasploit framework console open. Here we have Empire, and Heal Stripes. The trial version is built like being cheap. And over there, just some stuff on my local machine that we're going to do. We're going to paste a PowerShell one-liner in there in a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up and just and basically it's going to sit there and it's going to listen for a specific payload to call back to it, and that's going to be reverse HTTP payload that's going to send an interpreter. Right? Pretty straightforward if you ever used Metasploit before. You can all sit uncomfortably silent and watch this.
No hands.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's just all mental. Yeah. So that one's up and that's listening. Now, in Empire, what I'm going to do is start two listeners. I'm going to create a standard Empire listener, the way you would use Empire on its own. And then we're going to create a second listener that's actually of type interpreter. And this allows you in Empire to throw the callback to a Metasploit listener. So here's one of the many ways you can use Empire as your agent, pure PowerShell agent, and let's see over it's a Metasploit listener. So this.
You know what? Metasploit exploitation modules.
Basically, if we created a launcher, stager, instead of main listener, we selected an interpreter. When that ran on the target, it would call to Metasploit. It's just going to throw back not to Empire. We're going to use Empire to trigger it and not receive it. So this is the launcher. This is a PowerShell base 64 encoded command. If that gets run on the target, Empire will run and call back to our Empire C2. This is the agent. I'm going to paste that into a little script. Stand up a little local web server. I don't know why I call everything little web server, little PowerShell server. And then here's our domain join. So it's just a Windows 8.1 client, fully patched as of today, along with a domain controller that's running that's connected to. Demonstrate. Actually, let me type out. Anything to run on your target is entirely up. There's no real way we can say here's the way. But I'm assuming you fished them, you got them with a link, whatever it is, and this is the thing that would run. And so I'm just typing it out manually. PowerShell.exe. For those of you new to PowerShell, I'll sort of explain why we love it so much for offense and what all this crap means right there. It's amazing when you remember this shit. That's just like I wasn't even reading all my notes, so I probably screwed it up at some point. Basically what's happening here is we're invoking PowerShell. Then we're saying -NOP, which stands for no profile. So basically admins can start a little PowerShell profile that has settings you can or cannot do. And then here's my favorite part of PowerShell, something called the execution policy, which says what kind of scripts can or cannot run on the target. So you have unrestricted, let everything run. You have signed, which has to be code signed. You have, now a lot of people treat this as a security boundary. I want to say this very clearly. This is not a security mechanism in any single way. All you have to do to bypass the execution policy in PowerShell, meaning some weird script on the internet got done, and no, we don't allow foreign scripts to run. All you have to do So we now have a foothold in the target. You see the get request. So what we're going to do is here, interact with that page and just kind of show you we do have code execution. There's this stuff. DC from Smith, not their real domain. Posted it privately. Or so they think. And now what I'm going to do is, for whatever reason, we got to get over to Metasploit in Empire called Codex invoke shellcode. And this time I'm going to say, use that interpreter listener we set up at Empire. That when it gets a callback, it's going to go up there. Actually removing set something, unset something. There. And up there, interpreter session. So we just passed from Empire to Metasploit. Same thing, we'll interact with the shell, system info, just like we did up here, code execution. Put that in the background. Now what we're going to do is, so we, I'm just going to use a local Windows exploit. If you already have a session, you don't need to re-exploit. You can use pass and checking something. So the payload is interpreter, reverse HTTP, but we're not going to use interpreter. We're not going to get the callback to the Metasploit listener. We're going to get the callback to Cobalt string. And the reason why that works is, like I said before, the staging process is the same for all three tools. So if you like all three tools, but you think you can only use one or so at a time, you are wrong. You can use all three together and have a bountiful life with bountiful shells. These are just some extra flags you should set for Cobalt Strike. Set prepend migrate to true, set save the payload handler. We're going to create a listener. This is Cobalt Strike. See the payload? It's the same kind of syntax as you see in Metasploit. And then we're going to so all three tools interrupt. Now this one for B has a 6-second callback. So let's speed it a little bit. 7 and code execution. All right, so 3 successful positive C2 shells. This is sort of a little bit more drilling down into those languages I mentioned before, PowerShell, WMI, C#. So the way is I wrote some productions that are just kind of I want to show you guys as a macro. Now the whole one-liner short things I could possibly think of that replicate the same capabilities that we all love as modules in our favorite tools, like enumerate lock-on sessions, find things that work bank, available. And that's really what I want to show you. So there's no encryption, there's no obfuscation, there's no pathing. These are just sort of the raw, quick and dirty use. You can roll into a script, put it in a macro. If Metasploit, Cobalt Strike, and Empire aren't working for you, these things can replicate. Right? Just as a quick and dirty way. So we have a macro called evil thing, and this is as short as I can get a macro, more or less. And I'm not a VBA master. So what we have here is something called bad thing. And what I'm going to be using for the rest of this video is anytime we see calc pop, that's demonstrating like our evil stuff work. So when you see calculator go, it means it's a bad thing. But the real interesting technique here, if anyone pays attention to the very top, where it says sub auto close. It's actually something recently I started playing with. A lot of malicious macros in Office documents execute the second you hit enable macro. Now, there's an off chance we can defeat a lot of heuristics by having your payload run when the document closes, not when it's open. So just a little tip for pen testers out there who want to try and defeat some behavior. Have your evil stuff run when they're done. close that, and there we go. So we're having our, this is just a nice little trick you can use. So this is kind of what I want to show you. This is a weird way to run sort of a four-pronged attack. We're going to run DLL32, and then instead of passing the DLL to pass it in JavaScript or JavaScript syntax, we're going to call ms.html.dll and specifically use the HTML application export. So we're going to be using an HTA, JScript, and run DLL. And then finally, at the end, we're going to use WScript to launch our. It's sort of a four-pronged little evil thing.
Is it short enough to fit it in the tweet?
Anyone want to count? Maybe. I don't know. That's actually a really good question.
Work on that.
Yeah. I know. Tweets these like it's just free shell, and what we're actually running is the variable holding WScript. Oh, there we go. Simple, simple stuff. So again, code execution. So now I'm sorry. Someone say something. That's just me hearing things. I'm pretty sure it's this causing that. So we're going to use the integrated scripting environment for PowerShell to take a look at some one-liners. So that's, I didn't do it. Come on, Jose. Okay, go a little faster. So in this, what I've tried to do is simple, short one-liners. So these are just basically administrative-based one-liners. That as an evil attacker, you can put into context, and you can see why this is interesting. So the first one there is we're using a PowerShell command get WMI objects, so we're invoking WMI inside of PowerShell. I'm saying in the namespace, the very top of the WMI hierarchy, root security center. That's where any antivirus product is going to register itself. So if we want to find out ahead of time, not only if they're using AV, but what kind of AV, we can do that. And I'm going to pipe the output because it gives you a lot. And just say, show me the display name, which you can see on the screen here spits out Windows Defender. That's all I have at the moment. Next one, again, very similar syntax, get WMI object, class Win32 operating system, show me the caption, the build number, and the version. Why is this interesting? We can match these to exploits, right? Specifically these builds in this particular version. I'll put all this stuff up on GitHub later so you guys can check it out. So in this one, what we're going to do is, now I want you to think malware for a second. Basically what we're doing is we're listing processes with WMI. We're saying get WMI object, class Win32 process, show me all the processes, and all I really care about is the name and the pin. But after that, I want you to tell me if you found any process with this string. Now, why is that interesting as an attacker? Think malware iteration. Think enumeration before infection. I'm going to look through processes of popular defense tools. This V box there is Wireshark. Yeah. So this is like our iterator. We run the calculator, right? So we can set this into like sort of a loop looking for specific processes you might want. Same thing here goes with the next one using here, just get survey this time. Where are the status that's equal to run? Just show me running processes. Show me the name and what the hell it's for. Play with Active Directory. This first technique up at the top, that might be a little hard to see, is we're actually invoking .NET Framework directly from the PowerShell command. We're saying system dot dot or directory services Active Directory .domain, and then calling the get current domain method. And what I love about this so much is when you think of all the modules we're getting organizational, we want to focus on, right? We're getting the SIDs of these users. If one of them is a domain admin, DC sync anyone? Golden tickets, right? We need those SIDs. This next command here, it's a little weird. This is using something called ADSI. Now, ADSI is a little bit more obscure. It's what's called a type accelerator. And basically what this allows you to do is circumvent a lot of these commands or commandlets that might not be present. And this actually allows you to do LDAP-based style queries inside of PowerShell to get a lot of detailed information. And in this structure, what I'm creating is a script block called ADSI. I'm creating an ADSI searcher. And the query is, I want to know about all organizational units. And on this middle line there, I really just care about the canonical name. Find everything, spit it out for me. And then if you want to run a script block, use the invoke command, script block argument, and pass it in the script block. And we've enumerated every single OU inside of Active Directory. I only make 4, so it's lazy. DC416 admins, DC416 users, DC416 servers, DC416 clients. I think. Now I'm going to use the same technique to find users again and get that same info that we did with get AD user, but in case the PowerShell module for Active Directory has not been installed, ADSI to the rescue. So a little bit uglier, but we got the exact same data back. Right? So it's one way to circumvent something not being there by using something that is there. Now a couple offensive hunting techniques. I don't mean threat hunting. I mean, you're on the box, you've got your foothold, you got some persistence. You may want to actually go after some stuff. So these first 3 lines are kind of like the quickest, dirtiest file hunter I could come up with. So basically, we're just creating a variable called dir. Get child item is the PowerShell equivalent to dir. It's the same as ls in Linux. That's all it does. We're going to use the environment variable user profile and start recursively from there, go through every single folder. Return items that have the extension .pdf, and then print out the full name, which gives us the path, and the last access time. Maybe for some reason we're targeting a very specific file which users are working on. And this, by the way, can get modified into loops to look for strings like banking, password, private, blah, blah, blah. We can even read the contents inside the files as well if we want to. So there we go. We found banking, we found secret, last write time, full path to the files. So now we're getting into a little bit more of an espionage level where we're looking for documents. This next one is going to use WMI object again. We're going to user hunt. I want to know who also is logged into this machine I'm currently on, because maybe I want to impersonate their token and use that token to log into their machine, start lateral movement throughout the network, getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So what we're doing here is using, again, the process list. But this time I'm saying out of every process that's running, I would like to know who the owner is of that process. With get owner, tell me the username, and if they have multiple sessions going on, just be unique, just show me. I just need to know one. Okay. Now this user we're running as is named B Smith. There we go. So that's us right there. And to show you that this will find not just other users, but remote sessions as well. Maybe a help desk admin just logged in. We're going to go over to a domain controller quickly. And this is excellent practice to have a domain admin remote into a client account from a domain controller. It happens. It really does. Yeah, it doesn't really get worse than this. So we're just going to use PowerShell remoting as Mark Morton. Anyone know who Mark Morton is? Extra points? No? Come on. Star player from Rainbow God. That was good. So we're going to start a PowerShell remoting process into that box. We'll run the script one more time. We'll find the session. So here we go. Enter PS session, computer name, client 1. That's this box. Credentials for domain admin here. Client 1, we're logged in. So that's a PowerShell remoting session from the domain controller into here. Run the script again. Now we found Mark Morton. So we're user hunting now. Right, and 3 lines of code. Not too bad. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with CIM, CIM. It's just, that's a conversation we'll have with a couple of beers, man. That's a long conversation. But it allows you to sort of do very same low-level things like WMI. Same output, multiple options to accomplish the same tasks. And then finally, just list me Windows shares. There's no hackery stuff going on here. Get WMI object class Win share. We list the shares. But the cool part about this is, if you think for loop, is we can pass it the computer name property. So now I have a text file full of all the host names I found on the network, and I do a for each against each one of those. Show me all the shares. Why do we love shares on the network? Because we have write access to them. We can grab documents like spreadsheets, take them, put macros in them, stick them back, reinfect the whole goddamn network. It's pretty easy to do.
How are you enumerating the devices on the network? How are you discovering all the devices on the network? How are you enumerating those?
Oh, we didn't actually do a one-liner for that, but it would be, there's actually a neat way you can do it in PowerShell. It's maybe like 15, 20 lines of code to basically write your own scanner that won't be noisy like Nmap, where you just focus in on PowerShell, on Windows-based ports. You can say, well, there's these machines, there's these machines. You can also ask Active Directory.
Oh, so there's no WMI hack here. You've already
This is
discovered.
a pure just WMI query on its own.
Okay, I thought that was discovering as well.
No. Okay. Well, we could pass a list of something we discovered a different way.
Does that give you a hidden shares number as well?
Sorry.
Does that not give you the hidden shares number as well?
You can pass in a property saying no hidden, and it will exclude those. And it will, or sorry, the other way around. Say include those, and it'll show you. So here's a neat little one. If you ever want to see how difficult it is, now there's no OPSEC here for the adversary. There's no tradecraft here at all. This would get caught pretty quick. But that is how simple it can be to get data out. What we're going to do is post that data as literally a post to a listening web server by taking environment computer name, environment username, a little message like hello 416, DC 416. Use IWR, which is invoke web requests. Usually you can use to download stuff. We're going to use it to send stuff out of the network. And then on this console, I'm just saying, show me the status code. Did it go through? Did it 404? I mean, 200. On that, go ahead and change the IP. We'll see the post results over there and our status code here. Oh yeah, this one kind of crashed on me for a second. See my mouse panic and trying to figure out what's going on. There we go. Run it. There's our Excel. Yep. 5. Oh, 5. Perfect. Thank you. Cool. So there's using PowerShell to get your data, post it back to a C2 is kind of like JSON sort of on it. This one, I'm going to skip the one after this so I can get right to that persist WMI. You see a lot in offensive PowerShell stuff being used with base64 encoding and all that. So what we're just doing here as an example is taking calc, base64 encode, we'll turn it into base64 encoding that. And then from PowerShell, if you take the base64 encoded string and pass it into the enc command, or shorthand for encoded command, it'll execute. So that should pop a calculator. There we go. Same thing can be done over the web where it downloads right into memory, executes from a base64 encoded string. Finally, I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit here to this. Now this is a little long, I don't expect you to actually read this. This is a technique used in Stuxnet to create very low level, very hard to discover persistence. In WMI, you can do this really cool thing called event consumer binding. Basically, you create a filter, and that's up at the top called ever persist filter. And then there's this WMI query. WMI is very SQL-like, and select star from blah blah blah. So if you're familiar with SQL, it should look pretty similar. And I'm going to say anytime a process gets created within 5 seconds that has the name Notepad, just watch that. Don't do anything yet. Just watch for that. That's our filter. Then I'm going to create something called a consumer, and that's going to be Notepad pop calc. So I'm calling it. And all it does is run calculator if need be. These two things do nothing on their own. And then what you do is create an event consumer binder where it takes those two things and attaches them. So what that means is anytime something happens, and this can be as obscure as a weird Windows event log, that event log goes, fire my shell. If a user types the letter T 10 times, fire a shell. We can bind our execution to almost anything that happens using this technique. So you can have really obscure ways of having your shell fire off when something very rare occurs, or something very common. And the beautiful part about this is not only will it persist past reboots, it executes your command next as system. Yeah, that's system context. So just to show you right at the end here, I'm going to start opening some notepads. You can see there's no calculator process. We'll open Notepad, pay attention to the top. There's our calc running the system. Open another Notepad just to make sure we're not goofing around. Second calc process as system. Everything, guys. Thank you very much for listening.